The Symptoms of Bad Code by Uncle Bob. Hello, I'm Chris Stantz. I'm a KMP developer. Tech Support said they're coming out for that to close that bad boy up. Hey, I saw this video about DevTools made simple. I haven't watched it yet. And it says the Symptoms of Bad Code is my favorite of all, my favorite guy, Uncle Bob, and he's gonna give us all the reasons symptoms. I want to know what bad code looks like. I would like to know bad code. Let's see what he has to say.
What are the symptoms of bad software? How do you know you have bad code? What does it do to you? Other than the obvious thing of slowing you down. How does it slow you down?
Is it just to slow you down? Slow you down how? Like understanding it, changing it, modifying it, configuring it, reading it? What parts slow you down? There's no tests. There are tests, but they run super slow. What are you talking about, Bob? Let's keep going. He's such a gish galloper. He just like skips over all kinds of stuff, just vague, just generalities. But he's got something specific in his mind, but he puts out a vague word. That's just a skip over it. And I love how DevTools Made Simple. He's always got some code base in here. He's working with registered device. It looks like this one's in Java. Yeah, this is all Java. He's got some Kotlin. This is a mixed code base here. I don't know how smart that is. Let's keep going.
If you modify something and that breaks something else, the code is bad. So one of the symptoms is called rigidity. Rigidity is when you touch the code and you must now modify massive amounts of other code.
People usually call this fragile. I don't know why you got this rigidity thing. So I guess it's kind of like the same word. So he's always trying to come up with some of his own words and stuff. And he's confusing people because he actually means fragility, which everyone knows that is, but he's got to use a new word. So this is yet another hypnotic induction sales technique. So another way to induce hypnosis on people when you're doing sales is to throw out these words, and then keep talking without explaining what this word is, and they'll just float out there. And what this eventually will do is it kind of overwhelms people until they stop questioning what people are saying, and they just go along with the results of their particular path and their particular interpretation of that meaning, which they never fully ever speak about or expose. Or if you try to nail it down, it's just a standard thing. Everyone's already knows. Let's keep going.
To come back into consistency with this modification you made. Your boss comes to you one day and says,
right, so if it's fragile, if you got the one change and it breaks something in 16 different places, you have to go fix those 16 different places. And that's every single time that thing changes, just because of how you've set up your particular solution for this particular problem space. You might need to do that, and you might not have to. It might be 16 places in code. It might be 16 servers out here that you haven't automated yet. It might be 16 different people you need to call every time you change something. That's just how it goes, man. And then usually we'll see those things as a difficult barrier, and you'll put some kind of thing around it if it happens more than a couple times. I mean, let's be real.
Can you fix this bug? And you look at the bug report and you say, oh, I know exactly what this bug is. You don't tell your boss that. You just think to yourself, I know exactly what this bug is. I actually put it in the code yesterday. You go to the module.
What does that even mean? Do people do that on purpose? Let's keep going.
Because you know where this bug is. You go to the module, it's up on your screen. You look at it for a minute and say, yep, there's the bug. I know how to fix it. Oh, wait a minute. If I do that, there's this other module over here that calls that function. I better go check it and bring that module up.
Yeah, usually they will talk, like the modern IDEs will give you like hints about where these things are being used, whatever, that you might have to change. But also this is the problem that Alan Kay was talking about with his thing about it's not objects and classes is the big. That's not the idea. Not hierarchies and just things having code and data together. The thing is, the messages between encapsulated barriers that happen to be used classes, whatever, you can use that stuff, but the barrier and having messages between them. So if I do change this thing over here, I don't have to go change 1,500 places. This barrier around it is it's all contained behind here, and I have an API which I've gone through SIP like this before, so I've developed an API so I can change this thing down here without having to go and change 15 other places. I've decoupled that thing. That's a big part of the engineering, and it's kind of an evolutionary. I mean, you might be able to catch some of this at first, but some of the stuff you're just not going to catch, and you're going to have to reconfigure the system for version 2 when you throw the code base away. We got $2 million in that code base. We're not throwing it away. It's like you might have to throw it away. And listen to Alan Kay. I didn't make that rhyme, but I did it just in time.
I'm gonna have to fiddle with that a little bit. Let's change it a little bit. Oh, wait. If I make that change, there's these modules over here. And now,
yes, that's how people have made all their programs super efficient and performant because everything's tied, coupled completely together. It's not decoupled at all because they didn't listen to Alan Kay. They listened to Sturge structure. Static variables are fine. It's fine. Just static. Just grab it. It's more performant. It's like, yeah, it's more performant. But now we understand the reasons why is because this kind of stuff happens. People like get so the whole application is built this way, and they're expected to come in and first understand it, and then modify it and update it, and then every change goes like this. It becomes a nightmare, and you quit, and that's why the next guy comes in. He tries to do the same thing until the company goes out of business, or somebody gets a clue. It's like maybe this code base needs to be refactored. Yeah, as in thrown away and started over.
you begin to chase the tail through the code. And the weeks go by. 2 weeks.
Normal. This is like, we got $1 million in that code base. Do you know how many man years we've established in that code base? Where's all the people? It's like, well, we had a little downturn in the economy, and we had to let them go. We lost some good people. We lost some really good people, but well, I don't know how this thing's put together. I don't know how long. Well, can you do it in 2 weeks? It's like I have no idea. It's a sprint, you know. How many points is that? I have no idea. Does anybody left? Well, there was an intern. We promoted him to a product manager because he didn't really like coding that much. Just like this is just the intern left. Okay, let's keep going.
3 weeks, 4 or 5, your boss comes back in and says, I thought you were going to be done with this in 3 weeks. I'll be done tomorrow, I swear.
I swear to God, I'll be done tomorrow. I'm pulling all nighter for them to pull it in. But you really don't have any document. No, there's no documentation. Everyone's gone. You just gotta figure it out.
By the time you're done, you have touched every module in the system. Your boss says, what the heck took so long? And you utter the immortal words of every software developer. Oh, it was a lot more complicated than I thought.
Yeah, because of how this thing's put together and how it had to be performant. And it had this industry standard. So with the static variables are in there, we can use a static keyword. We gotta put it in the code base. Well, it's just right there. It's static. We just access it directly. It's super fast. Look, my performance meter went up. Look, I can go. We have 10,000 more processors per second. 10,000 more units per second because I went directly in. But now layoffs happen. Like, why is this thing going directly in? I change it here, and it has to be changed 65 other different places.
Rigid code that has dependencies that snake out in so many directions that you cannot make
yes, standard stuff.
Isolated change without changing everything else around it. Bad dependencies, systems that are coupled.
Yeah.
Another symptom of bad code, similar to that one, is called fragility. Fragility is the tendency of the code to break.
It's the same thing,
places,
buddy.
Even when you only change it in one place. You make one very simple change, and a whole bunch of other things break.
That's what you just said. So what's the difference between fragility and rigidity? That's the same stuff. Come on, man.
But they break in parts of the code that have no relationship to what you changed.
It's the same thing.
You made a little change here, and something over there doesn't work anymore.
That's what you just said. So why is this different? So this is more, I'm just really thinking this is like hypnotic in sales induction technique because people are like, well, I'm trying to figure out what's the difference between a fragility and rigidity. It's the same thing. Yeah. It's the same problem. The coupling, fragility, rigidity, same damn thing. Why are you trying to redefine terms? Because I got a book to sell. I need a new acronym.
You make a change to the way the salary for hourly employees is calculated. Just a little change. Made a little change. And now it won't print the report for the union boss. It crashes when it prints that report. Why'd that happen?
Yeah, because how was the app written? Was it designed for that? Were you allowed to do that? Was the app the developers who put that thing together, who you might have been able to talk to, but they got fired because of layoffs because they had to get that thing out in 2 week sprint and they didn't have time to document it, and they had to do 10 more cycles per second because the union boss wanted that, so they had to do a shortcut. And now there was a big layoff because they wanted a little bit more money. They wanted to go on home instead of working 60 hours a week, like Uncle Bob said. They wanted to go home and see their kids, and they all were like, "No, you can't see your children." They all got fired. Now we're dealing with a bug that's like, Why is this set up like this?
Fragile code. Fragile code breaks in bizarre and strange ways, ways that you cannot predict. You make a change over here, something over there breaks. You didn't predict it. You don't know why it happened. You have to chase the bug around. Finally, you realize, oh yeah, that function over there set a flag, and that guy over there used that flag, and
Yeah, the classic style of programming. Since everyone's completely ignored Alan Kay, and then Igor Bugienko, he did his fair share last 6 years trying to promote his stuff, and people are like, nah, that's dumb. That's dumb. And then that's the same damn problem, always over and over and over again. And people are like, well, but it's more performant. Okay, please keep going.
your car has an electric window that doesn't work. You take it to a mechanic. Mechanic looks at it for a while and says, yeah, I can fix that. You come back the next day, the mechanic proudly shows you the electric window working. You thank him, you get in the car, you turn it on, the car won't start. You're not going back to that mechanic. That mechanic's an idiot. And that's what happens when managers and customers see software developers change one thing over here and something over there breaks.
Oh, but who was the idiot who said, oh, we have to do 2 week sprints as industry standard? How much time do you estimate you can get this feature done in? Well, I don't know, we could just kind of, it's like, well, we need this done in 2 weeks. So you got 2 weeks to do this. And you're like, well, they said just get it done as quickly as possible, not make it easy to understand, easy to maintain, easy to debug, easy to update, easy to modify, easy to extend. None of that. No. Just read this down in 2 weeks. And that's the thing. So it's okay, man. We'll do it in 2 weeks and you'll get exactly what you asked for, which was not how to make it updatable, changeable, modifiable for something in the future. The goal was get it out in 2 weeks, like Uncle Bob says.
Nothing strikes more fear into the heart of a customer or a manager than that one. Because all of a sudden, the managers and the customers who don't have any idea about the technology.
And why don't they understand the technology? Why are they managers? They should kind of have some of the experience in what's going on down at the bottom of the development pile. The technologies we're expected to use and understand and read and extend and modify. Well, how come they don't know? They should know. And the reason why they don't know is because they're got to get their lunch eaten by people who do know and are willing to understand. Because this is the way it happens. And what happened to our industry? Yeah, it's because you didn't understand how the development cycle actually works. What developers actually do. You thought you could get rid of them by getting AI involved, and all it did was make us go, "Oh, well, maybe I could use AI to take over your lunch."
They believe these guys have lost control.
No, you lost control. Manager that doesn't know how to code, doesn't understand development, you lost control. It's just exposing your loss of control and misunderstanding. And you're trying to push it down on the developers when it's really your problem because you don't understand that after you make that feature, there's going to come a time when we might need to change that feature. And we may need to put that kind of stuff in at the head, not at the end, after you fired everybody because you thought AI was going to solve all your problems.
They begin to think that if they looked under the hood, they'd find crap. They're right. And they begin to suspect that maybe the quality of this product is not all that good at all. They become
Yeah, because that's not what you bought. You bought a feature in 2 weeks. You didn't buy a quality thing that could be extended, modified, understood, all the other things documented. That's not what you bought. You bought get the feature done in 2 weeks. You have 6 points.
I'm afraid of letting you make changes. Has anybody worked at a company where the management finally said, all right, nobody changes that module?
Yes, of course.
Right? That module's too fragile.
Standard. And those companies go bye-bye.
Every time you touch it, something else wrong. Nobody touches that module. That is the ultimate failure of a software developer. When the business, who is not technically competent, says you're not touching that module.
They got PTSD about how they built the thing. And they got $2 million in that code base and they won't let it go and then won't rewrite it and won't listen to Igor Bugienko or Alan Kay about what messages are, not objects and classes or hierarchies. Ooh, you have hierarchies in your language? And that's what management hears. They're like, you have a hierarchy in your language? I know what a hierarchy is. I know what an org chart is. It's the same as an org chart, right? Yes, it's the same as an org chart.
Third symptom of bad code. Your boss comes to you one day and says, you know that module you got to write? You know Joe over in that other group over there, he wrote one just like it last year. You should go talk to Joe and see if you can use some of his code. You know Joe, and you know the kind of code that Joe writes, and you don't want to go over there and talk to Joe.
This is open source, by the way.
But your boss told you to do it, so you go over there and you look. And sure enough, Joe's module does just what you need it to do. But it does more than that.
This is back in the bad old days when this was kind of like how code was made, because each independent company had their own kind of, before open source was a thing, they all had just different people who know different parts of the thing, because it was too much to fit inside your head instead of one person at the time. Now it's kind of because everyone's refined a lot of these methodologies, whatever. But at the time, like someone that knows how to do sorting, someone with databasing, all that stuff, the hell was all in one. You couldn't have it in one person. It was too complicated. Because the way these things were built, they weren't designed for one person. They're designed for a specialist that knew all the ins and outs and wanted to tweak it down to the nitty gritty little details. They wanted to know all that stuff because they could specialize in it. But that's not how things are now. That's not how it is. It's like now all this open source stuff, and you got to integrate everything. And you could the AI will help you, but you still got to kind of know how all this stuff's put together. At least there certainly can't be an ignorant manager. You have to be a smart manager. You have to be a developer. You have to know how these things are put together. Holy crap, man! Let's keep going.
It couples to some bizarre framework. It uses some weird database. And the more you look at it, the more you realize that, yes, you could use Joe's code, but the problems you would be bringing in are so severe that you finally say, nah, it'd just be easier for me to write it myself. The desirable parts of the code are so horribly coupled to the undesirable parts of the code that you cannot use the desirable parts of the code somewhere else.
Okay, yeah.
Joe's code was crap.
I mean, it was fit for his purpose. Did you have Joe write it in a way that was to be used by other people? Was that part of the discussion with Joe? Let's go back to the manager. Was Joe brought on to make code that was supposed to be used other than the project he was on, he was assigned to, which shipped and was all blah, blah, blah. Was he designing that code at the same time to be used by other people with a different database, with a different interface technology? Was that part of it? It wasn't. Wow. I wonder why you're having such problems with his code.
How do we deal with this? What is the common thread of all of those flaws?
Managers.
Well, okay, spaghetti is the word that we use to say, well, this code's all scratched.
Managers not allocating that. Developers not demanding that of their code, the code editors and IDEs and build tools to be understandable, maintainable, like upgradable, like mostly understandable, like Gradle? Dude, no, that's not a solution. That's a vendor lock-in.
Scrambled up. But there's a more technical term, coupling. The reason the code is rigid is because the modules depend on each other in undesirable ways.
What does that mean? I mean, there has to be some sort of coupling somewhere to the API. If not directly, they're going to go through an API. So how do you maintain that? How do you upgrade that and make it understandable and extendable and flexible and changeable and debuggable and monitorable and all the things? So now you just moved it up. So how do you do that? Humans have to decide this. I'm in Mexico right now. You can hear fireworks going off and some ladies doing a birthday song. All right, let's keep going.
The reason that the code is fragile is because the code depends on data structures in undesirable ways.
What does that mean? Depends on data structures. It's all that fragility is all kinds of stuff, man. Not just data structures in undesirable ways. What does it even mean? He's so like flowery and very Captain Kirky with his metaphors. They're very ham-fisted. They're just like, he's very much like not like a drill sergeant, but like a general trying to get his men ready for war.
The reason that I cannot take the desirable parts of Joe's code and use them in my system is because Joe's code depends on other code in undesirable ways. And
undesirable for who? For Joe? on his team that developed the code for that you want to steal and not give credit for it? You want to just like slam it into your thing and just like, I'm gonna forget Joe, screw that guy.
Common thread there is coupling, dependency.
Manager. All right, I love beating up Bob. He's fun. He's fun to beat up. I hope he made you laugh a little bit, or made you cry. I don't know. I had to cry about this quite a bit before I could laugh about it. All right, give me a like and subscribe, and I'll leave this stuff in the deedly do, my course and all that stuff.